Mornings have a rhythm. You can hear it, feel it. And at Quaker, we fuel it. With 100% whole grain oats and a good source of fiber in every bowl, helping you turn that rhythm into your soundtrack for a great day. Fuel to start whatever's next. Quaker, official sponsor of FIFA World Cup 26.
Let's go! Listen to the heartbeat.
Chevy is called the heartbeat of America for a reason. With SUVs made to move with your rhythm. The versatile Equinox tackles your entire day. The spacious Traverse fits your crew and your whole weekend. And Trax brings style with value you can count on. All infused with tech that has your back, so your drive always hits the right chord. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Have you ever got to a point where things just got too much? Like you boiled over, you felt overwhelmed, you couldn't take it anymore. It's Adam here, and you're about to listen to a hypnosis session that deals with specifically that issue. And I was working with a client based in Central Europe, and they had reached a point of what they called a breakdown. But that's just a label, and a breakdown means different things for different people. It can mean overwhelm, or it can mean full-blown psychosis for certain people. So the label is not what's important. What is the experience of that particular client. And for this client, they just felt it got too much, and they had a bit of a cry and they felt better, but they didn't want to feel that way again. And what was evident with this particular client is that they felt it was building up over time. And a useful analogy for that is a pressure cooker, that if it kind of slowly builds until it doesn't take a little bit at all for it to explode. And that we can call a buffer. So if the pressure cooker analogy is that there's no pressure in the cooker, the buffer is big. And if it's at breaking point, then the buffer is very, very thin. That's a metaphor for resilience. Now, for this particular client, here in the UK, we've had a heat wave. Throughout Europe, there's been a big heat wave. And because of that, a lot of people are not sleeping very well, and it's kind of affecting their mood and various things. It can make things unbearable. And for this client, it was the things like the heat and the lack of options, and even the sounds around them were getting a bit too much. So this hypnosis session helps to do two key things. One is to release the built-up pressure, and then the second is to build the buffer. So to release the excess and then build the resilience. Now, I want you to think of an area of your life where you feel like patience is running thin, or that you don't have too much tolerance or flexibility in that particular area of your life. Because if we can release the pressure or the perceived demands in that area of your life, you're going to feel a lot more capable and resourceful. This was created for an individual client. Some of the references in this session would have been absolutely perfect for the client I'm working with and not relevant at all for you. So just ignore anything that isn't quite right for you and hone into any suggestions that feel helpful. And if you like the idea of working with me directly, click the first link in the show notes, and that explains how to work with me directly. And it also gives you a 50% reduction on an initial consultation because you're listening on the podcast rather than finding me any other way. So if you like the idea of that, check it out. For now, though, find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be distracted or disturbed. Relax and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe in, imagine breathing in a feeling of pure relaxation. And as you exhale, give permission to release any tension, any pressure. That's it. And if you need to position your body in such a way where relaxation becomes even easier, a shifting in body weight, changing position of head or arms, that's it, just do that now. And perhaps you can recall the time when you felt capable and resilient. Imagine that memory, see how you looked like back then. And I want you to imagine breathing in a color that represents distilled resilience. Maybe a bright color, blue or green or orange or something else. And just imagine, hold that image of you at your most resilient and breathe in that color of pure resilience. That's it, eyelids getting heavier, jaw loosening. And as you exhale, give permission for any tension, any stress, any worries to naturally leave your body in that outward breath. And maybe you can notice that the deeper you breathe, the more relaxed you can feel. And the more relaxed you can feel, the deeper you breathe. That's it. Because right now, this is not about becoming perfectly calm. This is about helping your nervous system remember something it already knows how to do. To recover, to rebalance, to find space, and to create a bigger buffer. And think of that word, buffer, not as a gap or a deficit, not something missing, but a buffer, like a cushion, a space between demand and response, the space between a problem and a solution, or a trigger and a reaction. That space between a thought about the future and the belief that the future is already decided. Because a buffer is capacity, it's protection. The buffer is your resilience. And as you breathe in that bright, vibrant color of resilience, feel your buffer expanding. And as you listen, you don't need to make anything happen consciously. You can simply allow the deeper mind to begin organizing this in the background. Because a part of you already knows what it's like to cope. The part that already knows what it's like to survive a difficult period of time. A part of you that knows what it's like to find a way through something that once seemed too much. And perhaps the conscious mind forgets, especially if it wakes up in a low mood. And perhaps it forgets that, especially if the body feels depleted, it's not that you lose your buffer or capabilities. You just forget that it's there temporarily. And that's understandable. Because when the system is depleted, the mind does not evaluate accurately. It can overestimate the demands and underestimate the resources. And it feels like the scales are tipping against you. That there's an equation that feels impossible. But an impossible feeling is not the same as an impossible life or an impossible problem. So that feeling is not proof that a plan or an idea has failed. It may simply be proof that the plan is being tested, but perhaps from the wrong state. Feel your eyelids getting heavier, jaw looser, arms and legs limp, loose, relaxed, like the limbs of a puppet with no strings. That's it. And I want you to think about choice. Because choice is one of the first signs of resourcefulness. You may notice the breath without trying to breathe in any special way. Just noticing that the breath continues, breathing in and breathing out. And every out-breath can become a small release valve. And not dramatic or forced, but just enough. The kind of release that prevents pressure from building up too high. Pressure does not need to become a crisis to reach breaking point before it's allowed to leave. And a pressure cooker only works because it has valves. Think about the pressure valve, because your nervous system also has a release valve. And the most effective of those is your breath. The outward breath is the release valve, but so too is movement, and sometimes a tear, and sometimes a conversation, or a walk, or a glass of water. Listening to music can be that release valve. A moment where someone listens or you talk. Changing from one place to another place. A decision you make can be a release valve. A moment of acceptance. This is difficult, and I'll find a way to handle it, is also a release valve. And so, as you listen to the sound of my voice, you can begin to give the mind permission to use those valves sooner, before the pressure peaks, before the system feels trapped, before the mind starts turning one difficult morning into an entire future. Wasn't that the pattern? To wake in a low state, to plan from that low state, to step into the imagined future as if that depleted self is the only option available to you. And then believing the feeling created by that simulation, that imagined scenario. And now you know. The future had not happened, and the plan had not failed, and the resources had not disappeared. But the mind, in that moment, was running a simulation with the wrong version of you inside it. And because the body is loyal, it responded emotionally to that simulation as if it were real, as if the future had already arrived, as if there were no way through. And when you understand it in that way, you can acknowledge it. No need for guilt or shame, inner criticism. Your body acted as if a thought was true and responded proportionately. But the thought wasn't true. It was a projection. And so now the deeper mind can begin learning a different way, a better order, not planning first and hoping the state improves. To work on your state first, then strategy. Get resourceful first, then make the evaluations. Build your buffer first, and then make decisions from that resourceful, resilient place. And maybe you can begin to sense that difference now, as though one part of the mind can place a future scenario on a screen, a little way in front of you, and not inside your body or through your eyes, but on a screen. Imagine a cinema screen or a big TV screen. But on a screen at a safe distance, a possible scene, a possible plan, perhaps a challenge. And when you see yourself on that screen from that resourceful, capable state, maybe you see that future version of you with more choices. And even if your mind shows you something that isn't ideal, because it's on a screen, you can evaluate it wisely. In fact, you can pause it or rewind it, change the angle or ask better questions. Like, how would I handle this if I were resourceful? How would I approach this situation or challenge if I had slept 8 hours of wonderful, rejuvenating sleep? How would I plan this if I felt supported and encouraged? And what would the resilient version of me notice? What options would become visible from that empowered, resourceful state? And maybe you can notice how different that is. The depleted mind has a pessimistic view. What if I can't cope? What if everything is too much? What if it happens and I feel trapped or restricted? What if it doesn't work? And they produce more pressure, making you feel even more depleted, making you feel with less viable options. So let's release not just the pressure, but a broken strategy. Release it. Imagine an old pressure cooker just being released, and see the gauge or the dial go all the way down. And start to think of resourceful questions like, what can I influence? What can I prepare? Who or what can I ask for? What can I release? And instead of biting off more than you can chew, you could ask yourself, what is the next chunk, that next manageable step? What is actually happening now, rather than what my mind is projecting? And there may be something very important in realizing that help from others counts as a resource. Support counts. Information counts. Money or time or sleep. It all contributes to feeling more resourceful. I want you to get a sense of just how much help could be available. Not just from family or friends, but you can help your future self when you're in that positive state, empowered, capable state. You can think of genuine things that could happen and all the choices that you could make if such a thing occurs. But from that resourceful, capable state, you're priming yourself that if that thing happens that may be a genuine demand, you can meet it from a place of feeling that you have the capabilities to manage that demand. And with that, there is strength and dignity and also responsibility in that. You don't have to do everything yourself. It's true that some things only you can do, but less than you think. And there are resources. A device could be a resource. An idea could be a resource, a book. Someone to call. A plan, an idea. They're all resources. So let's dial up all of the resources you have capable access to. And let's release all of those demands that aren't immediate and pressing. Just let them go. That's it. And now as the body continues breathing, you can imagine that buffer beginning to widen. Perhaps not as a big dramatic change. Maybe just a bit more space, a bit more room, more capacity or capability. As though between you and the demands of life, there is now a clearer margin, a protective margin, a thoughtful, wise margin. And in that margin that we call the buffer, you do not need to react instantly. The buffer gives you time to evaluate and separate and distinguish from what is real and what is imagined. What is happening now and what is just a possibility? What can I influence? Or what must I accept, at least for now? What support can I use? And what small action would help, even in a small way? That's it. Just imagine somewhere inside, perhaps there in your chest, the place where safety feels like it exists. Imagine a pendulum, a stoic pendulum, swinging gently between control and acceptance. And on one side, the things you can influence, your preparation, your plans, your communication, your choices and your boundaries. And on the other, those things you can't control. You can't control other people or the weather, some noise or the past. You may not be able to control the first sensation in your body, or the mood you immediately wake up with. But that's just the starting point. What if wisdom is allowing the pendulum to find the right place, to enable you to influence what can be influenced, to accept what cannot currently be changed? But then think of your response, because it's your response to both what you can influence and what can't be changed. You are responsible only for your response. You are not responsible for controlling all conditions. You can influence the future, you can't control it. You are responsible for choosing a decision or your next useful step. But it's not up to you to make life perfectly predictable, because no one can do that. And that distinction of what you can influence and what you can respond to and what you simply need to accept can begin releasing a very old kind of pressure. The pressure perhaps linked to a belief that if something isn't comfortable, that you should have prevented it. Or the pressure of believing that if something feels difficult, then you must have failed. Or the pressure of believing that if a plan is not perfect, then it's useless. But none of that is true, because a manageable plan is useful, and an imperfect solution is useful. A temporary option is useful. Even something like a shot to nothing where you try, and if it doesn't work out, you're no worse off than when you were before. Even that is useful. That's it. So allow your mind to take you back to a time when you felt resourceful, a real memory. Think of that time of feeling capable and resourceful and resilient, and feel like your pressure cooker is being released and your buffer is being recharged. That's it. Charging up, breathing in that resilience, feeling capable, more calm, with more choices. That the balance is shifting towards more resources and less demands. That's it. And maybe you can feel that somewhere in your body. And whenever you listen to this, you can release the demands and the pressure and charge up that buffer, building up resilience. And as you hold that thought, it's time to return. But taking all of that resilience, that buffer, those new strategies with you. So take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. Connect and calibrate into the here and the now as I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8. Open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10. Wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. If you've enjoyed this episode or got some value from it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. And maybe you know someone that would also benefit from this particular episode, in which case share the episode with them so they can also get the benefit too. And if you would like to listen to this episode where it's just the hypnosis, so no intro, no outro, no explanation, just the hypnosis and completely ad-free, there will be a link in the description where you can subscribe at a very low cost and only get access to the hypnosis. So if that's of interest, please check that out. Thank you again for being a regular listener of The Hypnotist, and I'll see you again soon for more.